The BBC News, first on BBC One with Nicholas Witchell.
Serb forces have left Kosovo, but Serb villages are being looted. Serb homes have been stripped of everything under the noses of NATO. As the Serbs completed their withdrawal, NATO officially ended its bombing campaign. And Australia celebrates a resounding victory in the Cricket World Cup. Good evening. Serb forces have completed their withdrawal from Kosovo and NATO has officially ended its military action against Yugoslavia. But as the Serbs pull out, Kosovo Albanians have been looting the deserted homes of Serb civilians, and in one incident, NATO forces did nothing to try to stop them. It happened in Grace, north of Pristina, from where our correspondent Matt Fry now reports.
The Serbs have left Kosovo 11 hours before schedule. Their barracks stand deserted. Their armoured vehicles and tanks, which not long ago terrorised these hills, are nowhere to be seen. Kosovo, the sacred heart of Serbia, which President Milosevic once vowed to defend to the last man, is no longer his to rule. It's a crushing humiliation. Below, the houses burn. Some have been set on fire by retreating Serbs who would rather see their house in ashes than left to the Albanians. Others have been burnt by the Albanians in acts of revenge. The Serbs of Grabče are leaving their village, home for 3 centuries. They're watched by their Albanian neighbours, waiting to cross the road to the now abandoned houses. The last Serb has left. The race for the loot is on. From everywhere they came to collect their spoils of war. Don't film, this father and son team shouted at us as they loaded up the doors of number 15. Next door, this man had helped himself to just about everything he could carry. No time to pick up the washing powder. The people doing the looting are Albanian refugees who returned to their own burnt-out houses only this morning.
It was 3 mountains up in the mountains with little children. Grenades were falling, and about food you should know yourself.
Many told us they were merely taking what had once belonged to them before the Serbs stole it. Look what they've done to my fridge, he said. The French legionnaires watched the mayhem unfold. We're not going to intervene, the sergeant told us. I'm on my own here. I'm more concerned about the houses being set on fire. Too late, they already had, and NATO was forced to explain the lack of intervention.
It was going on once the NATO troops, the KFOR troops, had arrived down there, and the decision of the commander on the ground was to avoid any danger to life and limb, was to accept some destruction of property at the time.
We counted 6 houses in flames. We saw no attempts by NATO to put them out or to stop more from being torched. It's only a few hours ago that Serb forces left Kosovo, and as you can see, the reprisals are already in full swing. This morning, Serb civilians are still living in the house behind me. They're now refugees, and the Albanians of the village have made sure that they'll never return here. It's the rough justice of an almost medieval war. Matt Fry, BBC News, Grabče.
A team of British investigators has begun gathering evidence about suspected Serbian atrocities in Kosovo. The officers from Scotland Yard and other British police forces started at Velika Kruša, where 20 bodies were found last week. From there, Jeremy Bowen reports.
Thousands of Kosovo Albanians are on the road trying to get back. Thousands more didn't make it, and every piece of land has its victims. British detectives and forensic scientists are investigating one massacre at the village of Velika Kruša to get war criminals convicted by an international court.
You have to produce the evidence, and the evidence means producing statements from experts as to how these people died. Were they shot? Were they burnt to death? We need to know that before we can indict anybody and put them before the court.
Gani Krasniqi gave us the names of 22 members of his family who were killed by the Serbs. Gani found their burnt bodies in the family farmhouse when he came back from the mountains. They're still lying in the bullet-riddled room where he presumes they died. Albanian fighters have told him not to bury them until the investigators arrive. But the weather is hot, the bodies stink, and he can't move his wife and children back until they've gone. But the investigators haven't spoken to him yet, so he waits and wonders when the survivors can try to start living again. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, Kosovo.
There's been a reconciliation between Russia and the West at the Group of 8 summit meeting in Cologne in Germany. Presidents Clinton and Yeltsin agreed to put their differences over the Kosovo conflict behind them. And there's to be a special conference to work out a plan for the post-war reconstruction of the whole Balkan region.
It was the arrival everyone had been waiting for, a rare appearance by a president who often runs Russia from his sickbed. But one slight stumble didn't deter Boris Yeltsin. He'd come all the way to Cologne to meet NATO leaders for the first time since he froze relations with them for bombing Yugoslavia, a crucial moment in East-West relations. Now our fight is over, he said. It's time to mend fences. First stop was a Russian bear hug for the German Chancellor. Its German banks were Russia's main creditors. And if Boris Yeltsin wants one thing from this summit, it's reassurance he deserves a seat at the top table, even if he does suddenly arm wrestle the Canadian Prime Minister, to the apparent bemusement of other world leaders. And final proof the dangerous chill between NATO and Russia is over. The two presidents, Russian and American, have agreed to restart talks to cut nuclear weapons.
We also recognize that Russia's future depends upon the health of its economy. President Yeltsin affirmed today that Russia can thrive in the global marketplace only with a strong reform program. And the rest of us made it clear that we will move quickly once Russia's IMF program is in place to support the rescheduling of its debt.
There are still some disagreements over aid to Yugoslavia, ruled out by NATO while President Milosevic stays in power, insisted on by Russia. But overall, this summit marks an important turning point. Russia is once again NATO's ally. Bridget Kendall, BBC News, Cologne.
Police on both sides of the Irish border have arrested 10 men for questioning about last year's Omagh bombing in which 29 people died. It's believed the RUC arrested 4 people in South Armagh, where 4 police officers were injured when a crowd attacked them with stones. In Dundalk, in the Irish Republic, 6 more men were detained. Cricket, and in a one-sided World Cup final, Australia comfortably beat Pakistan by 8 wickets at Lord's. They bowled Pakistan out for just 132 and easily reached their target with more than half of their allotted overs still in hand.
Seldom can such enthusiasm and expectation have been so cruelly rewarded. The Pakistani hordes had turned the streets around Lord's into an enclave of their homeland prior to the start, and though the headquarters of cricket tends to turn its nose up at such raucousness, the supporters have given the tournament much-needed vibrancy, especially after England failed to progress beyond the opening phase. Some of the cricket in this World Cup has been absolutely scintillating, and the 2 best teams have made it to the final. But there's still a suspicion that the embarrassingly early